Hey everyone, Joshua Kirk here with you once again. Now it's time for episode 165 of Album of the Day, in which today the artist I'm going to talk about, an artist that has been near and dear to my heart over the years because they just have some of the most inventive, beautiful, gargantuan, and ambitious indie folk music that I've ever heard. I'm pretty sure you know who I'm talking about. The Seattle-based indie folk band known as Fleet Foxes, in which they formed in 2006, but sort of formed a very successful career for 5 years. But then, following their second record, they did kind of go into some studio album and touring silence and stuff like that. But now they're back in 2017, and I'm here to review their most recent album, which came out on June the 16th of 2017. And the album is called Crack Up. And as you can see, this is, I pre-ordered the vinyl, because considering I'm such a huge fan of Fleet Foxes, well, if you've been following me for a really long time, you may remember I used to have a website where I had a few audio podcast reviews, and one of them was for Helpless as Blues, the band's last record, which is a really good record, probably my favorite of 2011, but the website, is shut down now, so this is my first true YouTube album review of a Fleet Foxes album. But anyway, here's the beautiful album cover, which just looks stunning on the vinyl. There's the spine, and there's the back, which there's 11 songs in this record. It's over 55 minutes, so it's over an hour long, and there's a photo of the band and stuff. And it is produced by the band's frontman, Robin Pecknold, as well as the band's lead guitar player, Skylar Shilsett, and mixed by Phil Eck at Zero Sound, and recorded at various studios, including, Electric Lady in New York, as well as Cedar Sound, and of course, a vast recording in Seattle. Really beautiful gatefold. And there's a little insert in here, really nice. It's streaks of paint, and these are the lyrics, which I think is interesting. How some of the song titles have these little commas and stuff like that, and these dash signs. So it kind of makes sense that the song Cassius transitions into hiatus because of the quotations and, the titles of those songs. And there's the liner notes and everything. And I would say this is so far my favorite album packaging and liner notes of the year, because they listed everything that they did on this record, even the field recordings and the weird stuff like that. So I definitely commend them for that. So there's side A, and then there's side B, and this is on None Such Records, which is their first album for a major label, after leaving their longtime label, Sub Pop. And then there's the other LP, side C and side D. So yeah, that's the double LP of the new Fleet Foxes album, Crack Up. So, this was definitely one record that I was definitely really looking forward to. It was like one of my most highly anticipated releases of the year, considering my dedicated fandom to this band. So that kind of says something that I actually pre-ordered this vinyl. And upon listening to it, I would say that my hype really paid off big time here. I mean, most other, bands that release an album after years of silence kind of, don't really tend to do that many great things or really put that much purpose in it. However, Fleet Foxes are just way too ambitious, way too talented of a band for them to really rehash anything they've done before. In fact, Crack Up is like their grandest, biggest sounding, most ambitious, and their most fully realized album yet. I'm not going to say it's better than Helpless as Blues, or heck, it's even not better than their self-titled record, but this is definitely the much-needed step forward for the band, and they definitely do sound happier than ever, even if the lyrics are about heavy stuff, pretty much. The opening track is like this big piece, I Am All That I Need, / Arroyo Seco / Thumbprint Scar, which starts out with these really hushed, whisper quiet harmony vocals and finger-picked acoustic guitar, and like its opening lyrics, Robin Pecknold, considering the great songwriter that he is, right off the bat pulls you in with the opening lines of "I'm all that I need, and I'll be till I'm through, and I'm light on my feet. Good to be without you." Sort of opening up about this relationship that he's kind of gotten out of, but at the same time feels a sense of relief and freedom out of it. But then eventually the song transitions into this sprawling odyssey of acoustic instrumentation, which just sounds amazing. And I love the very poetic lyrics, like the first couple in this section of "So it's true I've gone too far to find you, and the thumbprint scar I let define you, and the myth I made you measure up to. It was all just water winding by you." I mean, just reciting it, it sounds like just a really beautiful poem. Woman stuff. So it's definitely a perfect little ambitious, unexpected, piece from the band. And it's like the first music that anyone's heard from them in a while, so it definitely is pretty satisfying as the opener. And in the song's third section, it's got drum machine, and it's a little more quieter, more somber with pianos and stuff like that. And then it goes back into that really nice midsection, which features some really cool instrumental details, like the bass clarinet, as well as so these really gorgeous strings that kind of sweep in like a soothing balm for your ears. And it closes out with sound effects of water and some acoustic strumming, as well as what sounds like this high school female choir doing a rendition of White Winter Hymnal, which is classic song, second track off of their self-titled record. The very next track, Cassius, opens up with these really cool, really beautiful field recordings of water, as well as the humming of a cicada, kind of creating the chugging rhythm of the song, which is kind of further elevated by the acoustic guitars and the atmospheric keyboards and the marimba and stuff like that. And the song its lyrics sort of these lyrics really do show Robin Pecknold really progressing as a songwriter, which I definitely do really like to see that for sure. Sure, and like it definitely does. Like the lyrics on the song are definitely fantastic, and the final question in the hook of "Are we all so tame?" definitely does sum up what he's trying to say. Definitely very nicely, and this is the kind of story where not gonna necessarily go too deep into it, but it definitely does tie in with the story really well, and you would just have to listen to it because otherwise spoilers. And also I love some of the other instruments that show up on the song. There's like some kettle drums as well as like pretty somber towards the end section featuring just a Hammond organ and vocals, as well as these fluttering woodwinds, and it closes out with some really gorgeous strings and piano and nicely played drums over it as well, which transitions beautifully into the song Niads, however you say it, Cassius, which is a song that really does, there are a lot of power in the phrases that he says here, like, who stole the life from you? Who turned you so against you? Who was the thief who shaved your teeth? Accepting just virtue. Sort of, the calm after that storm, pretty much, that transitions into it. Which, musically, the song's a little more straightforward and stripped back, but definitely does feature some pretty, compelling parts, including the harmonies in the middle are just absolutely golden, and so are like the strings and the piano as well. And it does close out with a really nice, classical guitar outro, which, if you listen to the digital version, it transitions into Kept Woman, but for some reason you have to flip the record to go to the next song, which, that's a little bit of an issue, but not too much, because Kept Woman definitely is one of my favorite tracks on the record. Just beautiful song, It's definitely, probably one of Robin Pecknold's best songs that he's written, of his career, pretty much. And, right off the bat, with the opening lyrics of, Anna, you're lost in the shadow there. Cinder and smoke hanging in the air. And I know you'll be bolder than me. I was high, I was unaware. You were just, pulled right in and almost moved to tears by just how beautiful the lyrics and the very kind of atmospheric folk instrumentation is on this track. And also I do like, there's some pretty, I like how he mentioned stuff like blue and white irises in a line, and some pretty dramatic lyrics on the song, like in the second chorus, too long swinging the knife, all will wash over you in a night so unending. Not long now to the rising. And after that is the lead single on the record, which is the song 3rd of May / Odaighara, which is definitely, shows the band making quite a challenging choice for a single. I mean, they're not the kind of band that's just going to put out a 3-minute pop song as a single. I mean, this one's literally an 8-minute long, huge piece, and such an epic song, in definitely the best of ways possible. And the lyrics on this song sort of, I heard in an interview somewhere that, he said, this song kind of is about his relationship with, him and Skylar, the guitar player, a little bit, even though not blatantly about it. It can be interpreted in a lot of different ways, really, but he's sort of talking about how, he's, the first line, light into the night, but the song remained, does show how, despite him kind of, needing to take a break and stuff, his love for music and his desire to create another album still remained and whatnot. And right, and also the lyrics on the song are definitely very poetic and really does show a huge turning point in Robin Pecknold's career, and he does give off a really just incredible vocal performance, really showing a sense of catharsis of just kind of letting it all out over some very triumphant guitars, piano, bass, and drums and percussion, as well as kind of that weird kind of, as well as kind of those weird strings hanging in the background. And then eventually it transitions into this more very kind of dramatic midsection featuring these really beautiful string arrangements, and it actually opens up with what sounds like a couple of people talking or something like that. Thing like that. Just a really nice transition right there. Right there. And the final section of the song is this more kind of somber, but also kind of meditative last section with kind of with the lines of, "I was a fool, crime after crime to confess to, but I hold the fleet angel, she'll bless you. Hold fast to the wing, hold fast to the wing," which apparently the line of "hold the fleet angel, she'll bless you" is actually listed on the back of the packaging of this, and the song and the end section features these really gorgeous, unusual instruments that pop up. The ones in particular that really stood out to me were Moog Minotaur, Prepared Auto Harp, shamisen, and koto, which the latter two are some pretty underrated Asian string instruments that are used beautifully in here. If you it's definitely really cool how that's one section where you kind of pick out little things out of it. So that's definitely another thing that I love about Fleet Foxes, their ability to incorporate weird instruments. I mean, they even incorporated an odd Tibetan singing bowl on their last record. The next song, if you need to keep time on me, is definitely by far probably the most kind of straightforward kind of poppy song on the record, but still at the same time has definitely some very compelling touches to it, the interesting kind of range of notes going on in the bridge and stuff like that. And also the lyrics are probably one of the probably one of the more optimistic moments on the record, but it does also have definitely still kind of some sadness to it with lyrics of wide oceans roar, a frightened full strokes, heedless fire, and stuff like that. But following that is probably my favorite track on the record, the song Mearcstapa, which definitely has by far one of the most unique sounding melodies on the entire record. And I love how the chords kind of allow the band to kind of, do whatever they want to it, to only kind of elevate it and stuff, the I don't remember the last time I heard someone write a melody of folk music that beautiful. And also, the lyrics on this song, while very few, definitely pretty interesting as well. Even though what really makes the song so compelling for me is definitely how it sounds musically, and also the weird instrumentation. I love the horns on the track. The strings at the end are really nice too, as well as there's also a blue noise synth, as well as the Baroque pop sound of a harpsichord as well. And, the weird castanet-like percussion instrument heard at the end is actually a Nawa percussion instrument called quebs, or, I don't know how to say it, but, Casey Westcott and Morgan Henderson play that instrument, and definitely does sound really cool on there. The song On Another Ocean, January/June. June is another kind of transitional piece on the record, and definitely very beautiful. And he's sort of really getting really revealing on the situation of this relationship that he's in and stuff like that, with the line of lies inside anyone you open and stuff like that. And then eventually, it cuts to this really beautiful end section where which I feel like is by far the most compelling moment on this song with the use of the horns and the kind of anxious strings on the song as well. And Robin just gives off an amazing, very emotional vocal performance, especially in that final verse, in my opinion, before it closes out with what sounds like a sample of a classic jazz recording, which shows the band throwing in these little, curveballs that really at the same time still work. The song Fool's Errand, is definitely another song that definitely does show some maturity for Robin Pecknold as a songwriter. Another first verse that definitely does sound really beautiful here, which is, I knew you fine, sight dream of mine, but I know my eyes, they've often lied. And I move like blood, like fire and flood, despite you. An interesting use of rhyming going on there too. And sort of realizing that the situation was just a fool's errand all along, waiting for a sign, but he can't leave until the sight comes to mind. And the instrumentation does sound really nice, the marimba creating a nice rhythm for the song, some neatly timed drumming on the song. Some really kind of delicate violins in the background, and as well as the use of an electric harpsichord and stuff like that, as well as does feature a really gorgeous piano outro transitioning really nicely into probably my second favorite track on the record, I Should See Memphis. Beautiful song, It's definitely one song that, this is the one song where Josh Tillman, who used to play drums for Fleet Foxes, now does music as Father John Misty, actually tweeted that this was his favorite track on the record, in a tweet that said, Memphis is a stunner, which I would agree. This song is definitely, beautiful. It's definitely one of the quieter tracks, but just, the chemistry of, the guitars and the strings and the way the chords and the notes change, it's definitely quite magical how the song kind of progresses, considering it is kind of a storytelling song. There's points that are kind of sad, but other points that feel just more like optimistic relief, pretty much like that end section, pretty much, as well as it does close out with some really cool, kind of fuzzed out vocals from Robin Pecknold, which in the liner notes it says he did something called Memory Man Deluxe, so his voice sounds as if it's being put through this electro harmonics guitar pedal or something like that, and it just sounds downright beautiful, I will say, before it eventually cuts to the last song on the record, the epic, which is the epic title track, Crack Up, and track sort of concluding this whole story, because I think it's interesting how this album flows, because it is kind of a storytelling album, and it's definitely a record I highly recommend you listen to from front to back, considering all the really beautiful transitions happening, in between songs, pretty much. Songs. And this track sort of concludes, with "So the mind won't lie, and the arm won't set, and the bright red eye isn't off you yet. So the words won't come, and the hand won't touch, and a midnight sun doesn't look like much. And also, there definitely are some very interesting kind of pauses, like in the song too, like on the line of "I can tell you've cracked like a china plate." We hear the very kind of shrill sound of a bowed cymbal, which definitely bowed cymbal, as well as what sounds like there might be a plate actually being cracked in the recording or something like that, which I think is interesting. And the line of "the tighter the fist, the looser the sand" really definitely sums up what the song is about, definitely very nicely. And I love that part in the middle, with these really kind of huge horns, as well as kind of sprawling guitars and percussion. The just absolutely golden harmonies on the track as well, really showing the band's ability to create some really nice catharsis via layered voices, pretty much. Or voices, as well as there's weird sounds that can be heard at some moments, like at one point you'll hear like a blue noise psychedelic synth sound as well. And then it closes out with these kind of sad, somber, funeral almost horn arrangements, with Robin Pecknold sort of concluding the story of like all that he sees are dividing tides rising over me. And the song actually closes out like, if you crank up the volume at the end of the song, you can actually hear Robin Pecknold opening a door and climbing upstairs, it sounds like, and panting. Like you can hear little footsteps in the background and stuff like that, which, makes the story definitely seem very intimate, which is really cool. Like, it's the kind of thing where last couple of listens of this record on vinyl, I cranked up the volume to listen to, kind of the intimacy, which was pretty cool. So yeah, you're very much getting the impression here. I love this record. It's definitely one of the best of the year. It's my indie folk record of the year so far, and definitely going to be in my top 10 for sure. For sure, because this is definitely their most ambitious yet, and I definitely love pretty much anything I'm going to get from Fleet Foxes is going to be good at this point. So I'm definitely feeling a 9 out of 10 for this new Fleet Foxes album, Crack Up. And I will see you for episode 166.